Welcome to Gourmet to Stay, episode 8. Starting to run out of fingers. You know, both my wife and my mother-in-law are from China, and every time my mother-in-law comes to visit, she makes me these delicious dumplings. While she's here to visit, I didn't want to waste the opportunity. Something about these dumplings make me feel so good. Now when you go to a dim sum place and you get these Chinese dumplings, kind of look like big ravioli. Dumpling marinara. It's not the brightest idea in the world, but hey, if it works, we'll look like a genius. Enough talk, let's get cooking. First things first, we're going to start with our marinara sauce. If you haven't seen me cut mirepoix, you can check out this episode. Making a great sauce is all about building layers of flavor. With this mirepoix, we're going to get a nice brown crust on the bottom of the pan, that Maillard reaction. We're going to deglaze it with some red wine. I chose a Bordelais because I'm all fancy. Now if you've watched our episodes before, you know I'm all about the fresh stuff. But in the case of marinara, canned San Marzano tomatoes. That's what you gotta use. Now my food expertise only goes so far, so I think for this next part, I'm going to let my mother-in-law, the real dumpling expert, take over. You can find the full seasoning recipe and everything else in the description, and make sure to click the subscribe button while you're down there. You know, just like my mother-in-law, I cook a lot with feel. She doesn't measure anything. She's probably made these dumplings thousands of times, so it just comes super naturally for her. I know what you're thinking, and no, she's not feeding a small army. She just makes this many every single time. But they do stay really well in the freezer, and if you want to make the recipe at home and have to use the frozen store-bought ones, it'll still be good, but not quite this good. Now this is the part that gives me the most trouble. Every time I try to crimp these shut, fold them with my mother-in-law, I cannot get them to look like this. I have the dexterity of an elephant. And of course Thelma's always nearby when we're making food. Time to finish up with our marinara. I'm using an immersion blender to smooth out the sauce, but if you just have a regular blender, wait for it to cool a little bit first. Into the hot tub with these beautiful dumplings. Make sure they're not sticking to the bottom or each other, but you have to be very gentle, they're so fragile. Whenever the water starts to boil super high, add a cup of water so that it's not tossing them around and breaking them apart. When they're floating, they're good to go. We're going to garnish these with chiffonade basil. To do that, stack the leaves, roll them together, and then slice them into very thin strips. And now it's time to plate. To add a little umami, we're going to add some Parmigiano Reggiano, and of course our chiffonade basil. Now no one would ever guess that this beautiful Italian classic had a Chinese staple hidden underneath. It actually turned out beautifully. You can even enjoy it with a glass of the wine you used to deglaze. And of course, as always, it passes the Thelma test.